Charges against a Denver officer for shooting in Lodo is another example of law enforcement being indicted for how they respond.
Yeah, police officer Brandon Ramos has not yet appeared in court, but is facing several charges. That includes felony assault. He was one of 3 Denver police officers to fire a gun that night, but the grand jury found the other 2 officers had clear shots without anyone behind the suspect. Body camera video shows that was not the case for Brandon Ramos.
We have seen other examples of grand juries trying to hold law enforcement accountable, like the Elijah McClain and Christian Glass cases. 9 News reporter Luis De Leon explains the impact that has had on police training.
Video is a wonderful aid to the justice system.
And 9 News legal expert Scott Robinson believes that video played a big role in leading a grand jury to indict Denver police officer Brandon Ramos.
The use of grand juries is an important tool in law enforcement.
Historically, he says officers are rarely charged with any kind of criminal offense in a police shooting where a suspect has a gun, which Denver police say was the case for 21-year-old Jordan Waddy. The grand jury found Ramos's decision to fire reckless and unreasonable. The outcomes of these shootings are communicated in the training of officers even outside of Colorado.
Naturally, part of the training must cover the potential liability, both criminal and civil ramifications for police officers involved in use of force situations, not just shootings themselves.
Use of force expert Ed Obayashi trains law enforcement in California and works cases like this into training.
But what I emphasize is that we're living in a very different law enforcement environment than we did a few years ago. We want to constantly develop training, especially obviously in use of force and deadly force. But I do advise them, you're an officer, do what you think is right based on your training.
But he also believes that the prominence of these indictments could impact things like recruiting or morale.
It's a very different atmosphere for the deputies and officers to think that, gee, I could be the next one. I could be the next guinea pig for a prosecutor.
Ramos is suspended without pay due to the charges, which is standard. He's also not been on patrol since the shooting. Now, Scott Robinson, that you heard from a moment ago there, says the charges against Ramos are not based on intentional acts, but rather on recklessness and negligence. So Kim Robinson also believes having a jury weighing in on that specifically would be more reliable than leaving it all solely to an elected prosecutor.
Yeah, interesting. And then that body camera video tells a lot, and that's going to be part of both sides of that case.
Absolutely. Yep.
All right. Thank you, Luis.